The trading hub on planet Zorin was alive with activity. Bright lights flickered, ships came and went, and voices shouted prices. Traders and buyers moved through rows of cages and crates. One crate stood out. It was smaller, older, and covered with dirt and scratches. Inside was a young alien girl, thin, tired, and silent. A yellow tag hung from the front of the crate, reading returned product, defective, do not resell. Her name was Lira, though no one called her that anymore. Her once soft, silver skin now looked dull. Her black hair was messy and her hands were tied. She had been sold many times before, each owner sending her back. Some called her useless, others said she was too quiet. One even stamped the word broken on her file. Now no one came near her crate, not even the flies. At the edge of the market, a man walked slowly, a human. He wore a long brown coat, dusty boots, and had a calm face. His name was Kaden. He wasn't looking for anyone. He was there to sell parts, maybe pick up a new engine. But then he saw her, the crate, the girl inside, the tag. He stopped. The seller, a thick alien with rough scales, saw him looking. "Forget it," the seller grunted. "That one's no good." Kaden didn't answer. "She's been returned 3 times. Cried too much. Didn't work. Kept getting sick. Waste of cargo space." Kaden stepped closer. Lira raised her head slightly. Her eyes met his. She expected him to walk away, just like the others, but he didn't. He crouched beside the crate, looking at her without fear, without disgust. "How much?" he asked. The seller laughed. "She's not even for sale. Marked defective. I'm sending her to the scrap freighter tomorrow." Kaden frowned. "She's not a machine." "Same thing. Broken's broken." Kaden stood, pulled out a credit chip, and placed it on the table. "That's more than she's worth," the seller said. "I didn't ask her price. I'm paying for her release." The seller shrugged. "She's yours then. Good luck." The crate opened with a hiss. Lira didn't move. Kaden stepped back, giving her space. "You can walk if you want, or I can carry you. Your choice." Slowly, Lira stood. Her legs shook. She looked at the open path in front of her and the human waiting beside it. Then, with small steps, she followed him back to his ship. Kaden guided her inside. The ship was old but clean. Tools hung on the walls. A small kitchen sat to the right. A folded blanket rested on a bench. "You hungry?" he asked. She didn't reply. He placed a warm bowl on the table. "You don't have to talk, but you can eat if you want." She stared at the bowl, then back at him. No one had ever offered her food without demand, without threat. She picked it up slowly, sipped it, and her eyes widened. It was warm, tasty. She drank it all. Kaden showed her to a small room. "There's a bed, blankets. You can lock the door if you need to. I won't come in." Still silent, Lira stepped inside. The bed looked soft. The walls were plain, but it was quiet, safe. She sat down. He handed her a small device. "You can call me if you need anything. I'll be outside." She nodded once. Then, just before he left, she whispered, "Why?" He turned. "Why what? Why did you take me?" He paused, then answered, "Because everyone else looked away. But I saw someone still alive." That night, Lira couldn't sleep. She lay on the soft bed, staring at the ceiling. She didn't cry. Not yet. The fear was still there, hiding inside, but she held the blanket tightly in her arms. For once, it didn't feel like a trap. It felt like warmth. In the morning, Kaden found her sitting at the kitchen table. She had washed her face, brushed her hair. He smiled. "Morning." She nodded. He handed her a small card. "This is your room key. I wrote your name on it." She looked down. Lira, printed in soft blue letters. Her lips trembled. "No one ever wrote my name before," she whispered. "You'll hear it often now," Kaden said. "Because it's yours and you're not going back." Outside, the market ran as usual. Crates opened, products sold, tags printed. But Lira was gone. No longer a label, no longer a number. The room was small but warm. Soft lights glowed from the corners. The air smelled like metal and steam, but not fear. The bed was made, the blanket folded. Lira stood at the door, still holding the card with her name, Lira. It didn't feel real. She had slept on metal floors, in cages, under benches. She had never had a room before. She wasn't sure what to do with it. Kaden walked past the hallway with a warm cup in his hand. He stopped when he saw her standing there. "Sleep okay?" She didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the walls, the clean floor, the folded blanket. He stepped closer, but not too close. "No chains, no locks. You can come and go as you like." Still no answer. "I'm going to fix the coolant pipe in the engine room. If you want to sit with me, you can." Then he left. Quiet and simple, Lira sat on the bed, still dressed in the shirt he had given her. It smelled like the ship, old but clean. She picked up the small stuffed doll from the side table. It had long ears and a patch sewn on its belly. No one had ever left something soft for her, not once. She held it gently and whispered, "Mine." Hours passed. The ship made soft humming sounds. The engines pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Lira stepped out of the room and followed the sound of tools clinking. She moved slowly, peeking around the corners like a ghost. In the engine room, Kaden was on his back under a large pipe. Sparks flew as he tightened a bolt. His hands were steady, his sleeves rolled up. He saw her shadow and spoke without turning. "There's a chair over there. You don't have to talk. Just sit if you like." She sat. He kept working. Minutes passed. She watched his hands, how they moved with purpose, how he checked each valve, tightened every screw. She didn't understand the machines, but she understood how he treated them, like they mattered. She had never been treated that way. Kaden finished and sat up, wiping his hands. "I was about your age when I first fixed something," he said. "A toaster. My mom cried when it worked." Lira tilted her head slightly. He smiled. "I like quiet. It helps me think. You're not too quiet for me." She looked down at her hands. "I was always told I was useless," she whispered. "Too slow. Not smart. By people who were wrong," he said calmly. "You're not a product. You're a person." She blinked. "Even if I was returned." Kaden leaned forward. "You weren't returned. You were rescued. They just didn't know it yet." Later that evening, Kaden made food, simple stew and bread. He placed her bowl on the table and sat down with his own. Lira didn't eat right away. She looked at him. "If I make a mistake, will you send me back too?" He set down his spoon. "No," he said gently, "because this is not a contract. It's not a deal. I chose you because I saw you." She stared at him, waiting for the joke, the trick, the trap, but there was none. She finally ate, slowly, then faster. It tasted like safety. After dinner, she asked to help with the dishes. He let her. She didn't know how. She dropped a cup. It cracked. She froze, expecting shouting. Kaden walked over, picked it up, and chuckled. "Guess we need sturdier cups." She blinked. "You're not angry?" "It's just a cup, Lira. But I broke it." "Then next time you'll be more careful." That's learning, not failure. That night, she sat in her room, the doll in her lap. She didn't cry. She didn't tremble. She just sat, safe. Outside, the stars moved slowly across the black sky. In the dark, a girl once labeled Defective listened to the soft sounds of an old ship, a kind man, and her own quiet heartbeat. No chains, no orders, no fear, just a room and a chance. The ship floated gently through space. Stars blinked outside the windows like small, cold lights. Inside, everything was quiet, just the soft hum of the engine and the gentle clinks of tools being used. Lira sat at the workbench, legs crossed, a small circuit board in her hands. Her fingers were steady now. Every day, she grew more confident. Across from her, Kaden adjusted a damaged sensor. "Once this is fixed, we can scan planets from twice the distance," he said. Lira didn't respond, but she nodded. She had grown comfortable with silence. So had Kaden. They understood each other without many words. After a moment, she asked softly, "What was your home like?" Kaden leaned back in his chair. "Earth. A small town. I had a mother who loved tea, and a sister who never stopped talking." Lira smiled faintly. "Sounds nice. What about you?" he asked gently. "Where were you born?" Her smile faded. "I don't know." "That's okay," Kaden said. "We can find out together." Later, Kaden showed her something new, a system terminal in the back of the ship. It connected to old colony records, starport logs, and abandoned trade files. This used to belong to a scavenger. He kept records of everything. Might be a trace of you in there, Kaden said. Lira stared at the blinking screen. Me. Kaden nodded. Let's try. She gave him the only thing she remembered, a code burned into her wrist when she was very young. X19. They entered it. The system searched. Files loaded slowly. Old documents, sale lists, transfer logs. Then something appeared. X19. Original designation, Lira Sarah. Transported from Ari settlement, Moon Thrin. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She whispered, "That's me." A profile appeared. A photo, just a baby wrapped in a silver cloth, eyes barely open. One word blinked, deceased. Error reported. Kaden stared at it. They thought you were dead. Lira touched the screen. They erased me. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Kaden stood up, pulled something from a drawer, and began working on something small. After a few minutes, he handed it to her. It was a tiny metal badge. Lira was engraved in clear, soft letters. Below that, Sarah, her real name. She took it in her hands like it was the most fragile thing in the universe. "I have a name," she whispered. "You always did," Kaden said. "It just got lost." She wore the badge every day after that, not for others, but for herself, to remember that she was more than a product, more than a mistake. She was someone. A week later, they landed on a small trade station. Kaden needed a new coolant pipe and fuel cells. Lira walked with him through the market. Heads turned. Some recognized her face, remembered her from the crate, the defective label. But now she stood tall, badge shining on her chest. When someone tried to speak, Kaden stepped between them. She's not here to explain herself. No one argued. In one small tech shop, Lira noticed a child struggling with a broken toy drone. He looked frustrated. She knelt beside him. "Want help?" The child looked at her with wide eyes and nodded. In 3 minutes, she fixed the toy. The drone spun in the air, lights flashing. The boy clapped and ran to tell his mother. Kaden smiled. "You have fans now." "I didn't do it for that," she said. "Why then?" She looked at him. "Because someone once helped me when I was broken." That night, she sat in her room, badge beside her, the doll still tucked near the pillow. She whispered her full name to herself again and again. Lira Sarah. Lira Sarah. Lira Sarah. Each time it felt more real. She was not just a survivor. She was not a returned product. She was Lira. And now the stars would know it. The stars outside were quiet, but Lyra's heart wasn't. She sat on her bed, knees pulled close to her chest, her name badge clutched tightly in one hand. Something cold twisted in her chest, a fear she thought was gone. Earlier that day, a message had come through the ship's main console. It was a voice Lira recognized and feared. Kaden had listened first. His face had changed, gone tight, still serious. He didn't say anything at first. Lira watched from the hallway, her breath held in. Then he turned to her. "Do you know a name, Galver?" Lira didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence said it all. Galver, her last owner. The worst one. He didn't hit her. He didn't yell. He just treated her like she was nothing. A thing to be used, then thrown aside. "He's looking for you," Kaden said quietly. "He says you were stolen, that you're still his property." Lyra's voice cracked. "He'll come. They always do." Kaden stood up. "He's not taking you." She shook her head, stepping back. "You don't understand. He has papers, contracts. They'll believe him. They always believe the ones with power." "I won't let that happen," Kaden said firmly. "You can't stop him," she whispered. "I'll try." That night, she didn't eat. She didn't speak. She just sat in silence, staring out the small window at the black sky. Her fingers kept touching the name badge over and over, as if it would disappear if she let go. Kaden stayed awake, checking ship security, double-locking doors, updating defense systems. He even contacted a legal officer on the nearest neutral station. "She's under my care," he told them. "I want her protected." The officer replied, "If the claim is real, you may need to go to court." Kaden said nothing for a moment, then replied, "Then we'll go." In the morning, Lira was gone. Kaden found her outside the ship, sitting on a crate, a small pack at her feet. He froze. What are you doing? I'm leaving. His voice lowered. No, you're not. If I stay, you'll get hurt. Or worse. He won't stop. You're not a danger to me, Kaden said. I am to myself, she whispered. He knelt beside her. You think walking away is safety. It's what I've always done. Not this time, he said. She looked at him, eyes wet. Why do you care so much? Because someone should have cared a long time ago. They sat in silence for a while. Then Kaden stood. We'll go to the station. You'll tell your side. I'll tell mine. And if they try to take you, he paused. She looked up. Then they'll find out this old ship still has some fight left. They flew to the station 2 hours later. Lira sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, hands folded tightly, badge pinned proudly. The station was cold, gray, full of law officers and security drones. Lira kept her eyes down, but her legs didn't shake this time. In the hearing room, Galver was already waiting. His face was smooth, his voice calm. That girl was purchased under full contract. She fled my home, took goods, and vanished. I demand she be returned. Lyra's hands trembled slightly. Kaden stepped forward. She's not a thing. She's a child, one who was abused and thrown away. There is no record of abuse, Galver said. No, because she was too scared to speak, Kaden snapped. The judge, a pale-skinned being with large eyes, turned to Lira. Do you wish to speak? She stood slowly, carefully but firmly. I was treated like a product, she said, voice soft but clear. I was passed from hand to hand. No one ever asked my name. She held up her badge. I found it again. I found me. Galver smirked. That's not proof of ownership. No, Lira said, but it's proof that I'm not owned. The judge stared for a long time, then spoke. This court recognizes Lira as an independent individual under the protection of human guardian law. She cannot be claimed, bought, or returned. Galver stood in shock. You're making a mistake. No, the judge replied. You did. Outside the chamber, Lira exhaled deeply. She looked at Kaden. I thought I'd have to run forever. He smiled. Not anymore. You stayed, she said. I always will. She wasn't property. She wasn't a file. She wasn't a mistake. She was free. The journey back from the station was silent, but not heavy. Lira sat by the window, her forehead gently pressed against the glass. Outside, the stars drifted like soft fireflies across space. She was free. The judge had said it. The law had heard her voice. But still, something inside her felt unsettled because freedom on paper didn't erase the fear in her bones. Not yet. Kaden piloted the ship with quiet focus. His hands moved over the controls like it was second nature, but his eyes kept glancing toward Lira. He didn't speak. He let her sit with her thoughts. Sometimes silence was the safest blanket. When they landed back on the repair moon, Kaden reached for the door lever, then paused. Do you want to go in first? He asked. Lira looked at him and gave a small nod. I want to walk in. Not like a product, she whispered. Like a person. Kaden smiled. Then let's walk in side by side. They entered the town's main market, where the same vendors stood behind tables of gadgets, wires, and rusted tools. Some remembered her. A few looked away. Others whispered, but Lira didn't stop, didn't slow, and Kaden never left her side. At the tool vendor's stall, a rough-looking alien stepped forward. That her, he said, nodding toward Lira. The runaway. Kaden turned slowly. The free girl, you mean? The alien snorted. Wasn't she returned 3 times? Kaden took 1 step closer. She's not a package. She's not broken. He didn't raise his voice, but his eyes were sharp. The alien backed off. Lira stood still, her heart pounding. Kaden looked at her. If you ever want to speak, I'll step aside. But until then, I'll be the wall. Back at the workshop, Lira unpacked new supplies, bolts, scanners, tiny tools for delicate work. She moved with purpose now. Not hiding, not shrinking. She picked up a damaged energy coil, a memory device, an old communicator. Can I take this one apart? She asked. Kaden smiled. That one's all yours. As she worked, her fingers moved faster than ever. Her mind raced, not with fear, but with ideas. She didn't just fix the communicator, she improved it. A few hours later, a soft beeping came from the corner of the shop. It was a message from a stranger, one of the station guards who had watched her speak in court. "We saw the hearing," the voice said. "Others are listening now. There are more like her, girls, boys, quiet ones who've been tossed away. We want to help them too." Lira stared at the screen. "They saw me," she said. Kaden nodded. "And they believed you." That night, Kaden cooked something warm, a thick stew with bread that smelled like home. As they sat at the table, he raised a spoon and grinned. To not being owned. Lira lifted her spoon carefully. To being claimed forever but never chained. They both smiled. After dinner, she stepped outside the ship. The stars above her looked different now. Not far, not cold, but reachable. Kaden joined her. "I was afraid," she said softly, "that when I spoke no one would listen. But they did." She nodded. "Because you stood next to me, not in front, not behind, beside." She looked up at him. "If one day you get tired of me, I won't. But if you ever do, I still won't." She blinked. "Why not?" Kaden looked toward the stars. "Because I don't keep you to fix you. I stand by you because you make me better." Lyra didn't say anything. She just leaned gently against his side. No words, just trust. In the distance, ships flew in and out of the spaceport. Life moved on. But here, between metal and stars, a girl who had once been returned stood strong beside a man who never gave up on her. And no one, no contract, no name, no owner could ever take that away. The repair shop was busier than ever, buzzing tools, blinking lights, customers coming in and out with broken machines and hopeful eyes. But they weren't asking for Kaden anymore. They were asking for her. "Is Lira here today? Can the girl take a look at my comms unit?" She fixed my scanner in half the time. Quiet but sharp. At first, Lira didn't know how to handle it. She had never been wanted before, not for labor, not for service, but for her skill. Now people waited in line just to speak to her. Inside the workshop, she knelt beside a sputtering drone. "It belonged to a miner who couldn't afford a new one," he said worriedly. "It overheats during lift. She's all I got." Lyra ran her fingers along the wiring, listening to the hum of the core. Then gently, she tightened 2 tiny coils, rewired a cracked line, and sealed it with silver tape. "Try now," she said. The drone hovered, smooth, silent, strong. The miner's eyes filled with tears. "She's better than ever." Lyra smiled, soft and proud. She just needed someone to listen. Kaden watched from the counter, his arms crossed, a quiet grin on his face. She had become something no one expected. A mechanic, a problem solver, a voice, a presence. That evening, a message came through the main console again. This time it was from a colony ship docked nearby. The message read, "We have 2 rescued children on board. Like Lyra, we don't know how to help them. Open up. Would she be willing to visit?" Kaden looked at her. "It's your choice." Lyra stared at the screen for a long time, then nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "I want them to know they're not alone." They visited the next day. The ship was clean but cold. In a small room sat 2 alien children, no older than 6 or 7. A boy and a girl, scared, silent, curled in corners like shadows. Lyra didn't speak at first. She just sat down on the floor with them, pulled out a little tool kit and a small broken music cube. Slowly, carefully, she began to fix it. The kids peeked through their arms, watched her move, curious. When she turned it on, soft music filled the room. The girl moved closer, then the boy, then they sat beside her. No words, just quiet trust. Later, the children's caretaker pulled Kaden aside. "She didn't have to say anything," he whispered. "She just was what they needed." Kaden nodded. "That's who she is." On their way back to the ship, Lyra held the music cube in her lap. "I knew what they felt," she said. "Like the world forgot them. Like they were broken." "You showed them they weren't," Kaden said. She looked out the window. "Sometimes you don't need to be loud to be seen." Back at the shop, Lyra began teaching herself new skills, programming, circuit design, even building from scratch. She kept a small notebook filled with sketches and ideas, a portable heating core for cold planets, A simple alarm system for runaways, a voice recorder with one button for kids who couldn't speak yet. I want to make things that help others, she told Kaden one night. Things I wish I had. He handed her a fresh pen. Then you will. Soon. Others started calling her more than just the mechanic. They called her the quiet builder, the gentle fixer, the girl who listens. And everywhere she went, someone had heard her story. Not just the court hearing, not just the badge with her name, but the way she carried herself, the way she helped even when no one asked. One day, a news crew showed up at the shop. A young reporter asked, "You were once labeled a returned product. What would you say to those who gave up on you?" Lira looked at the camera, calm and steady. I wasn't broken. They just didn't wait long enough to see who I was becoming. That night, as the stars rose, Kaden stood by the railing of the ship, watching the sky. Lira joined him. "People see me now," she said. "They always should have," he replied. She turned to him. "But you were the first." She wasn't just safe anymore. She was seen, respected, trusted, and most of all, believed in. The sky above the repair moon was clear, filled with stars, soft wind, and the distant glow of ships flying to places Lira had only dreamed about. But tonight wasn't for dreaming. Tonight was real. Inside the workshop, a small crowd had gathered, old customers, kind strangers, even the station officer who once stamped her protection order. They were all there for her, not to buy her, not to return her, but to celebrate her. Kaden stood by the bench, smiling as he polished a silver plate. It was small, smooth, and engraved with 4 simple words, Lira Sarah, Lifetime Crew. He handed it to her in front of everyone. "You were never mine," he said, "but I'll always be yours." Lira took the plate with both hands. For a moment she couldn't breathe. Then softly she whispered, "Thank you for choosing me before I believed I deserved it." A child tugged her sleeve. One of the rescued kids she had visited weeks ago. "Miss Lira," the boy asked, "are you still a returned product?" She knelt down, badge shining on her chest. "No," she said. "I'm a returned person to myself." He grinned and handed her a paper drawing of her standing tall, holding a glowing tool light around her head like a star. "Can you fix more people like me someday?" "I plan to," she whispered. That night, Kaden showed her something new. He opened a door in the back of the shop. Behind it was a small ship, sleek, light gray with blue trim, clean cockpit, fresh paint. Lira gasped. "Is this yours?" Kaden said, "Well, ours. We built her together. You just didn't know it yet." On the side, in shining letters, Second Light. "Why that name?" she asked. "Because you're not just a survivor," he said. "You're someone else's light now." Lira touched the ship with care, like it was alive. She stepped inside and sat in the pilot's seat. It felt like home. Not a cage, not a crate, not a place she was thrown into, but a place she had earned. The next morning, they prepared to leave. Their mission was simple. Fly to outer colonies, help people repair, rebuild, and recover not just machines, but lives. As the ship lifted off, the station below grew smaller. The people waved. Lira waved back. She had arrived there as a product. She was leaving as a promise. Hours into space, she turned to Kaden and said, "I was scared the first day when you opened that crate." "I was scared too," he said. "I wasn't sure I could give you what you needed." She smiled. "You didn't give me everything. You gave me enough and I grew the rest." She pulled a string from her pocket. On it hung 3 things, her old badge with her name Lira, the silver plate Lifetime Crew, and the yellow tag once tied to her crate, Return Product. She had scratched a new word over the last one, Return Power. Kaden read it and chuckled. "You kept the tag?" "I want to remember where I came from," she said, "but not where I stayed." The stars ahead were endless, new stations, new voices, new people who needed someone to say, "I see you." Lira would be that someone. She wasn't a label anymore. She wasn't what they called her. She was what she chose to be, a builder, a helper, a listener, a sister, a daughter, family. And as the ship drifted into the stars, she said softly, "I'm not for sale. I'm forever claimed but never chained."